In my earlier video on overcoming hate, I spoke about how I hated myself because of how much I resembled my dad, both physically and in personality. In trying to change, I acknowledged that hidden amidst the ugly traits that I hated, he had some good characteristics. He was a good communicator and managed business well. But all those positive memories of playing with and learning from Dad have been drowned out by the ugly ones. In high school, I recall walking around my neighborhood at night and asking God, why? Why had He put me in this screwed up family? Why did He let Dad beat us boys and Mom? Whenever he was around, we walked on eggshells, fearing he would lose his temper and swing at us with his baseball mitt-sized hands. I knew that the physical abuse, the arguments, and the lies were not the way God had designed family. But what was the way God had designed family? Where could I find good guidelines for raising a family? In the Bible, I found a lot of principles of loving one another and caring for one another, of loyalty and faithfulness and patience. For instance, husbands are to love their wives as Jesus loves the church. That's a tall order. And fathers are not to provoke their children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Those are both from Ephesians chapter 5 and 6. But these principles were only like an outline, a skeleton of the dad God desired me to be. I needed to find a man whose love for his wife and love for his children captured those concepts, someone I could imitate. Thus, as I entered my 20s, I started looking for men who could show me how to be a loving husband in the mundane affairs of life and to be a gracious daddy to his children. When I did find one, I would help them do chores around their home while spying on their attitudes and their interactions with their wife and their children. For instance, I recall talking with Perry one day at his home, and mid-conversation, his 2-year-old pops in and says, "Daddy, I need to go potty." And Perry said, "Okay, honey, do you remember what to do?" She nodded yes. "Okay, then call me if you need help." And she scampers off to the bathroom. A few minutes later, "Daddy, I need your help," interrupted our conversation. Perry sort of rolled his eyes, shrugged, and excused himself to help his daughter on the toilet. So that is how a loving dad does it. Men like Perry and Bill showed me how to put many principles of loving a wife and raising children into practical actions. In particular, I observed how Perry, Bill, and several others worked through disagreements with their wives, and I watched the discipline of their children and teens. There were a few years where I sent Bill a Father's Day card in appreciation for all he had taught me. By hanging around their homes, I started to learn how to love a wife, how to love and appropriately discipline children, and how to warmly welcome others into home. Joanne, Bill's wife, seemed to always make extra food, such that I don't recall a time when I just dropped in and there wasn't a place for me at their table. These are the warm memories with which I choose to replace the nightmares of my youth. Building on their examples, along with the positive traits that I received from my parents, I hope that my life will be an example that others will want to imitate. What about you? What characteristics and actions do you hope your children will catch from you? And maybe which ones do you hope they will not notice? Hey, as long as you're breathing, there is time to change. Please let me know what you think of some of my comments.